records just to write. Out my way, class feel too late. Lose my faith, I lose my life. I've been lost and feeling lonely. Tell them they can't hold me. Looking in the mirror like, when you fight for me.
I need you to fight for me when I don't know what I believe. Why does everybody leave? Show me what it's like to dream.
Hey, go, you the best. Hey, say it with the chest. Hey, yeah, wave them high, side to side. Let them know we gon' rise, we gon' shine. Hey, I need you to fight for me. Hey, I know you're my therapy. Hey, yeah, wave them high, side to side. Let them know we gon' rise, we gon' shine. Hey, I need you to fight for me. Hey, I know you're my therapy. I know why we fight. It's just to know we try.
I need you to fight for me.
It's the remix.
Last night put the heavy on me. Woke up and I'm feeling lonely. This world got a way of showing me. Some days it'll lift you up, some days it'll call you bluff. Man, most of my days I ain't got enough. And all I know is you're my only hope.
When I'm up, when I'm down, when the wolves come around, when my feet hit the ground,
I just need you
on my darkest days, when I'm losing faith, no it ain't gon' change.
I just need you. Lord, I need you. Yeah, I just need you. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me when I'm beat down, broken. Hold my heart when it's split wide open. Turn these eyes to my soul protector and break the will of this born defector. Cause all I know is you're my only hope.
When I'm up, when I'm down, when the wolves come around, when my feet hit the ground,
I just need you.
on my darkest days, when I'm losing faith, no it ain't gon' change.
I just need you. Lord, I need you. Yeah, I just need you. When you pull me closer, I come to life. When you pull me closer, I come to life. When you pull me closer, I come to life. When you pull me closer, I come to life.
When I'm up, when I'm down, when my feet hit the ground, on my darkest days, no it ain't gon' change.
Oh Lord, I need you.
When I'm up, when I'm down, when the wolves come around, when my feet hit the ground,
Yeah, I need you.
on my darkest days, Maybe midnight or midday. Never early, never late. He gon' stand by what he claimed. Lived enough life to say,
I heard your heart, I see your pain. Out in the dark, out in the rain. Feel so alone, feel so afraid. I heard you pray, in Jesus' name. It may be midnight or midday. It's never early, never late. He gon' stand by what he claimed. I lived enough life to say, help is on the way. Round in the corner, help is on the way. Coming for you, help is on the way. Yeah, yeah. I lived enough life to say, help is on the way. Sometimes it's days, sometimes it's years. Some face a lifetime of falling tears. But he's in the darkness, he's in the cold. Just like the morning, he always shows. It may be midnight or midday. It's never early, never late. He gon' stand by what he claimed. I lived enough life to say, help is on the way. Round in the corner, help is on the way. Coming for you, help is on the way. Yeah, yeah. I lived enough life to say, help is on the way.
Well, I've seen my share of troubles, but the Lord ain't failed me yet. So I'm holding on to the promise, y'all, that he's rolling up his sleeves again. Said I've seen my share of troubles, but the Lord ain't failed me yet. We'll keep holding on to the promise, y'all, that he's rolling up his sleeves again. Don't you know it? I can see him rolling. Help is coming. Yeah, it may be midnight or midday. It's never early, no never late. He gon' stand by what he claimed. I lived enough life to say, it may be midnight or midday. It's never early, no, it's never late. He gon' stand by what he claimed. I lived enough life to say, help is on the way. Help is on the way. Round in the corner, help is on the way.
Wide awake while the world is sound asleep, and too afraid of what might show up while you're dreaming. Nobody, nobody, nobody sees you. Nobody, nobody will believe you. And every day you try to pick up all the pieces, all the memories, they somehow never leave you. Nobody, nobody, nobody sees you. Nobody, nobody will believe you.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. You keep a cover over every single secret. So afraid if someone saw them they would leave. But somebody sees you. Somebody will never leave you. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows. For the lonely, for the ashamed, the misunderstood and the ones to blame. What if we could start over? We could start over. We could start over. Oh, for the lonely, for the ashamed, the misunderstood and the ones to blame. What if we could start over? We could start over. We could start over. Cause there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows where to find you. God only knows how to break through. God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's lead story once again is Megastorm Hercules.
Yes, and though it seems to be settling over the entirety of the continental United States of America, there is some good news.
It is the storm of the century. It has utterly paralyzed our nation.
On a brighter note, people are really...
It's already claimed the dubious title of the worst of all time.
Thank you for that, Nancy. Why don't we take a look at the web?
Lately I've been watching the nightly news. Don't seem to find a rhythm, just wanna sing the blues. Feels like a song that never stops. Gotta get that fire back in my bones before my heart turns into stone. So when somebody please pass the megaphone, I'll shout it on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Oh.
All right, good evening, everybody. Could you guys turn that up a little bit? Can anybody hear? Testing. Turn it down. 3, 2. Hello, hello. All right, who's excited to be here tonight? Thanks for coming out on probably like the third nice day that we've had all spring, right? We have an exciting night ahead. I think one of the things that I love about doing these quarterly events is just bringing in people that are like-minded, that are kingdom focused, that are family focused, marriage focused, and are doing big things for the kingdom. Anybody agree with that? And one of the things I'm excited about is we started last July with Steve Weatherford, who did a great job, and then we had Pastor Keith Crafton, and tonight we have my friend Clay Jones, who's going to come up in a minute. One of the things that I love about Clay is his family calls him Claycious because he's so much like Jesus. Anybody wish you had family members that compared you to Jesus? So I'm excited to have Clay with us. One of the things I'm really excited about is he's not just sharing an encouraging word, even though it's encouraging and motivating. He's developed a tool that's going to help you and I track quarterly if we're on track for the things that we say we're pursuing. Anybody like tools like that? So I think tonight's going to be great. It's going to be unique. Couple things before we dive in. So number one, we have a couple events coming up. If you want to pull out your calendars, I just want to give you a couple of dates. So July 29th and 30th, we have a Grow Leader event with Jared Neiman. He's a friend of mine out of El Paso, Texas, pastors a large church with 5 campuses, and he's just the real deal, very much like us, so we're excited to have him in. And then on October 28th and 29th, we have Dr. Dave Martin. Dr. Dave Martin is known as one of America's top Christian success coaches. So he's going to be with us. He's been with T.D. Jakes. He's been with Joel Osteen. Basically, anybody that has a big name, they've had him in. So excited that he's coming into CFC. So Jared Neiman, 29th and 30th, and then Dr. Dave Martin, October 28th and 29th. Tonight, Clay's going to walk through this planner, and I'm really excited about it. The planners, he'll explain more in detail, but basically they're designed where every quarter you have a new planner. And I think there's a discount if you get on the subscription where they send it auto delivery or ditto delivery, but they're $34.99. And he's going to walk through that. So one of the things, if you'd like to, I want to encourage you to pick one of these up. They're $34.99. And actually, I'm going to take a minute and pause for those of you that want to grab it because he's going to walk through how to use it. If you pick it up and you walk through it and you say, man, $34.99, then it's on me, okay? So that's the deal. But they're excellent. I think they should be 4 times that as expensive, but Clay's nice enough to have them for $34.99, and he's going to walk through those tonight. So in a minute, if you want to grab one, actually, let's take 1 minute, grab it, because he's going to walk through it. Ready, go. All right, my friend Clay. Clay is a former Universal Music recording artist, founder and COO of Audio.com, a fast-growing music licensing company and the author of Gold Track Planner. He's passionate about helping others achieve their greatness goals and to apply the biblical principles of wisdom in life, family, and business. He and his wife, Whitney, have been married for 13 years. They live in northern Texas and have raised 2 daughters, Layla Shea and Livy Ray. He serves an executive pastor at Elevate Life Church alongside his wife and family. Please help me give a warm Grow Leader welcome to Clay Jones.
Awesome. Thank you, Trey. It's awesome. Good to be with you guys tonight. Thank you so much. And everybody got a planner, I think. Good night. Yeah, this is going to be a great night. I'm honored to be here with you, and I think we're going to have an incredible night. Yeah.
We are. So before we jump in, whenever I'm listening to somebody, I always like to know, I did an introduction, kind of who they are. Would you just take a minute or two, kind of tell them your story coming out of music, your family, share a little bit more about what I said, what you do today?
Yeah, if I can just share a little bit of my story, just so you know who I am. I come from, on one side of my family, I'm a 5th generation worship leader, and on another side of my family, I'm a 5th generation business owner, which is kind of interesting. So I always grew up with this passion for both music, business, and ministry. And, when I really grew up, developed a passion for goal setting when I was about in my 20s. And I started a band with some buddies of mine. And is there any musicians in here who have ever, one out of this entire room? Ryan, right? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I started a band with some friends of mine, and we had written some songs, and I sat down and I set a goal. I said, I want to be signed to a major record label in less than 1 year. And from that day, 9 months later, we signed a deal with Sony Records in 9 months. And what we did is we just pretty much applied, I didn't know it at that point, but I was applying some of the principles that were even in this book. I'd always been a student of leadership. I've always been a reader of the Word. We talk about it today, but I've read a proverb a day for my entire life, adult life. I've always been a product of biblical wisdom, and so I just felt like I applied that in my life. And once I hit that goal, I was just hooked on goal setting. And so I played in a band. I also played for some musical artists, and I've played here at Staples Center. I've played Madison Square Garden. I've played all these wonderful venues. And part of my story is playing in some of these venues. And I remember specifically, it was Madison Square Garden when I'm playing the venue, and I had this feeling in my heart. I feel like I'm achieving more of my purpose when I'm back home at my home church than I am right here. And it was interesting. From that day forward, I just started making this move to come back home and be with my family, be with my mentor. At a young age, and at a very young age, I sought out mentors in my life, and I was mentored by who is now my father-in-law, and who I came back to do ministry with. I came back to Texas. I did ministry with my family. I think we have a picture of my family somewhere around here. That's my wife and two beautiful daughters. That's Whitney, my wife. So Whitney's father was a mentor of mine, and without telling too much of the story, I started courting her when this is going to sound scary. We started courting when she was 15 years old. Her dad had been a mentor. I've known them my entire life. And I went to him when she was 15. I was 23. We're 8 years difference. And he was like always, so you'd have to know our family to know that he was always trying to hey, you should go ride with Clay to lunch this afternoon. And anyway, I ended up talking, the day I knew I had any feelings for my wife, I went and talked to Pastor Keith, who's my mentor and now father-in-law, and said, I have feelings for Whitney. And he said, passion needs to be discovered, developed, and deployed. So if you take a year to discover it, take a year to develop it, and then on the third year, I'll let you deploy it. And so I honored him, and we stayed pure, and we stayed pure in our relationship with each other, and even as people, we just remained pure. And 3 years later, I proposed to her on top of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and she said yes. And these were all goals in my life. These were all things that, I feel like I get to live a dream life. And I feel like I get to live a dream life because I've always set out, how do I live a dream life? What do I need to do to achieve and to live a dream life? And I feel like I've been very fortunate. God's blessed it. And a few years later, I wanted to start a business, and so I always focusing on my values, and I'll go through it in the book, but I looked at my core values. I looked at the things I was passionate about, the things I was gifted at in life, and it was always music. It was always something about business. And so I just waited for the right opportunity. I started a business with a friend of mine who's a marketer, and we started this company, Audio. I was told by my business mentor at the time that I wouldn't make any money the first year, so I was full expecting, I'm just gonna put a bunch of cash into this thing. It's gonna just burn for the first year, and pray to God that it works. And we broke $1 million in revenue in less than 45 days, and it was just incredible. And so we were just very fortunate. But again, I feel like a lot of it is attributed to, even when we launched the business, I was using a planner, but I was using multiple different strategies. And I've always been a student of 4 disciplines of execution, John Doerr's Measure What Matters, these different OKR methodologies. I was always passionate about these different methodologies of creating a business, measuring the business goals, and measuring how you're winning. And we just applied that. We applied it fervently and lived by it. And everything that we even did, I just baked into this planner, because ultimately I'd just go, I need a planner. I need one for me because of what this has Pastor Keith's methodologies of setting core values in it. And I'll show you in a minute. But I just lived by everything that's in this. And it was a template. We can live by templates in life. And that's why you get mentors in life, is you get around people that their life is a template for what you want to do. Right. And we talked about that this afternoon, even in your life. It's like if you can seek after people who are going before you, whose life is a template, you can walk the path that they've walked and you can benefit from their journey. And so I've just been a beneficiary of that. So we've launched a business, and then I created the Goal Track Planner in the past year. And yeah, that's where we are. That's where we land today. But I've got a beautiful wife and 2 daughters, and who I love doing life and ministry with, and business.
Awesome. You sound like our kind of a guy. Great. Well, excited to jump into Goal Track Planner.
Yeah.
Ready, set, go.
Yeah. All right. So, okay, everybody here is a business owner, correct? Yeah.
Leaders
and business owner. Great. Awesome. You don't have to be a business owner to have this. I'm just curious too. How many of you guys set goals right now? Okay, everybody sets goals. How many of you like setting goals who set goals? How many of you, when you goal set, you kind of just throw them out the window after a certain amount of time? Is that anybody here? this hand. Kind of sometimes. I understand. I totally get it, and it's where most goals go. I mean, it's statistically where most goals go. Because, you know, when you look at New Year's resolutions, what ends up happening in people's lives is they abandon it in the first 30 days of the resolution, right? Most people aren't living by the things that they're setting out to achieve. But we'll dive through the planner, and what I've baked into this is a bit of life coaching and coaching that goes along with a weekly daily planner. So if you're with me and you have a planner, if you'd open it up, I'd love to start on the first couple of pages. But if you would turn with me to page 1, because I believe the key to setting great goals, and ultimately we're just going to talk about setting great goals. And why are goals important? Goals are important because you have a vision for a better future. If you have a vision for a better future in your life, you have a goal, whether you like it or not. If you can see something in your life, if you can see your marriage looking a certain way, if you can see your business looking a certain way, if you can see your health looking a way, or your finances looking a certain way, if you have vision for that, then you have a goal, whether you like it or not. You know, in Proverbs it says, without vision, the people cast off restraint, or the people perish, you know. And that word perish there, you know what that word perish means? Is the word perish means they let loose. It means they stop disciplining themselves. When you lose track of your vision, you stop disciplining yourself in the here and now to actually achieve that goal. So if you can't see a better marriage, then you won't discipline yourself now to have a better marriage. If you can't see a better business, then you won't discipline yourself now. So I hope the first part just stirs up a vision for your future. And I like to start with going like, what is your unique greatness? Each one of you have a unique greatness. And I think it's good before you set a goal to think about your unique greatness. What is it that you're uniquely good at? And we don't have to go into great detail because I just have to take a certain amount of time here tonight and I'm going to get through it. But I'll just read off the questions. You don't have to take time to answer them, but I would encourage you, if you want to buy a Goal Track Planner and take it home, to take some time. I literally take a day, and next week I'm actually going to go for a whole week and think about my next year. I turn 41 next year, so I'm going to go think about 41 for a little bit, contemplate what that's going to look like. But, you know, I'll read the questions here, but I take a day and I think through these questions. What skills or traits do you bring to the lives of others that helps them win? What would a parent, mentor, friend, or loved one say that you have the unique ability to do? You know, I'll say about the first question, your purpose is most found in life not by what you get, but what you bring to others around you. And you'll find that. And your business will be more successful in life if you're not concentrated on what you get out of it, but the value that you can bring to others. And the second question, I say that because the question, what gift do you have that helps other people win? That will help you go to a whole new level even in your business. I mean, if you can look at your business to go like, not what am I getting out of business, but how can I help other people get what they want, and how can I help other people win? I think Zig Ziglar says, you know, you'll get what you want if you can help enough people get what they want. What would a parent, mentor, friend, or loved one say that you have the unique ability to do? Sometimes it's great to just get someone outside of your world, just to ask them, like, what do you see in me? Find someone you trust, by the way. Don't find a TSA agent, for sure. It's like, find someone you know and trust. Find a mentor. Ask them, you know, what thing do you see in me? And I think while you're asking that question, say, what feedback would you have for me on how I can be better? Because that's always a great question to ask people. Not enough people ask that question, how can I be better? By the way, I'll just give you a little nugget. Not enough husbands ask their wives, how can I love you better? One thing I asked my kids, and I was taught by my mentor to do, again, I feel like on a lot of levels, you should just have my father-in-law here too, but is asking your wife, do you feel deeply loved by me? I ask my kids often, do you feel deeply loved by me? It's a way that I get feedback from the people around me. What do you feel like is a personal calling in your life? I have music in here. So like most people would look at that and go like, well, what does that have to do with now like making a business or a goal? But I've made a living and I've done very well in life, still concentrating on this unique little thing that is a very important part of my life. I found ways to monetize that gift. I found ways to not only do it in the most professional sense of the music industry, but then also to start and found a business off of it. And I enjoy what I do because I'm still doing music on some level. What do you feel like is a personal calling in your life? What activities do you find most fulfilling and why? And then you can, and I'll put down at the bottom, what is your unique greatness statement? With the answers above and possibly the help of a mentor, friend, or coach, take some time to create a unique greatness statement that you can remind yourself of daily. My father-in-law encourages having I am statements. I am this. I am a builder. One of my biggest things is I am a builder and I help people's dreams come true. So that's I have a couple of just like mantras in my life. And one of the biggest ones that I've taken with me through all the areas of life is I help people's dreams come true. I've always been passionate about it. I find the most purpose when I'm helping people's dreams come true. And it needs to be a good dream. Don't have a bad dream, by the way. It's good. A good dream is a dream that's a kingdom dream. That's a greatness dream that goes beyond yourself. It's not just monetary like we talked about today. It's not just for a Ferrari, but please have a Ferrari.
Can I ask you a question real quick? You talked about next week you're going to go spend a week kind of preparing for age 41.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I have had a lot of people ask me recently is how do you take time to rest and to plan? Can you just take a second to talk about what that week looks like for you?
Yeah, I'm going to be writing. I'm going to be writing next week too. I usually only take about a day or two to do like the goal setting planning. But I'll the next page actually goes through. I put it all in the planner.
That's great.
Yeah, we were talking at lunch today and we were talking about different subject matters and I keep going like, well, I put this in the planner. This is why it's not, for me, it's not a planner. For me, it is a template that I really shape my life around. And the thing is I really do feel like I live a dream life. And not just because of what I've done, but by the grace of God. But it's also because I've just listened to mentors. I've gotten and I've sought wisdom in my life. Again, I've read a proverb of a day. And if you don't do that in your life, by the way, I would really encourage just, if today's the 29th day of the month, then read Proverbs 29. It's just I've always sought to choose wisdom in my life. And I feel like when you do that, you get to live a dream life. But this is one of the main things, this life track assessment is one of the main things I do when I disconnect, is I look at all these areas of life. I'll be doing this next week for sure. I look at my physical area of life, and you can take this, y'all on page 3, y'all see the life track assessment up there? Oh, he's got it, cool. So I looked at these, I think it's 10 areas of my life. And before you set a goal, it's number one, important to know who you are, what you're good at, what skills you have, and what your unique greatness is. And the next thing that's important to do is before you set a goal is to look at all your areas of life. How is if you sit down and make a goal, if I said, hey, what's a goal real quick, most of you would immediately go to, I want to like make, $100,000 more this year. Or I want to and most of the time would be maybe monetary or business. But sometimes it's good to pause and go let me look at every area of my life. Another Zig quote says that some people climb the ladder of success only to find that it's leaning against the wrong wall. You don't want to set goals in life, in your business, and right now you may be thinking of a goal that you have, but if you pause and really turn around, would you pursue that goal at the cost of your relationship with a loved one? Would you pursue that goal with the cost of your health? And the answer is probably no. If I give you the decision today, would you rather have $1 million tomorrow, or would you rather have your health tomorrow? You'd probably tell me my health 100%. But oftentimes we make decisions that compromise our health just so we can pursue a business goal. So what this does is it looks at every area of your life and says, okay, physical, how's your physical life? And you can rate it. So I like to actually give myself a score over here on the left-hand side, and I score my life. And I say, okay, 1 to 10, physical. Do I never get enough exercise? Do I never get enough rest? Am I not taking vitamins? Do I not go to the doctor, annually? Or do I, go see the doctor annually? Am I working out 5 times a week? Am I doing these things to make sure that my physical body is top notch? And so that would be 1 through 10. And then how would you like to improve? And then do it for your finances. How are your finances? How would you like to see your finances improve? What would be a vision of your future? Again, start to stir up vision for your life. What is a vision that you have for your health? What is a vision that you have for your finances? Occupational, how's your job? Is your job going great? Do you want to progress in it? Do you want to start a business? Do you want to build your wealth in that way as well? Do you get much joy? Sometimes it's always complicated when I'm actually talking to businesses about this to ask them how their occupation is because their bosses are in the room. Marital, how's your marriage? Again, to me, these are the most important. Well, God is first in my life, but next to that is my marriage, But how is your marriage, if it's applicable? And then how do you want to improve your marriage this year? And start to get some vision for that. How's your parental? How's your relationship with your kids? Do we have parents in here? Does anybody have kids? How's your relationship with your kids? How could it be better? How would you like to improve that this year? Social, how's your social life? Emotional, spiritual, intellectual. And the intellectual side, you don't realize how much you need to grow. This is Grow Leader, right? Yeah. My brother, for instance, recently, he had a son. His son is diagnosed with what is it? Muscular dystrophy. So he was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. And so he spent the last 3 years of his life mentally drained because he was trying to figure out every last source to help his son have somewhat longer of a life than what a doctor diagnoses him with. So his son, when you're diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, I think you usually have a lifespan of, maybe your 20s or 30s. And you know what the amazing thing is, though? He got into a trial, and his son literally might be on the cover of a magazine someday soon because of all the advances in muscular dystrophy. His son is playing basketball, playing baseball. It's crazy phenomenal, the progress, but he just set his entire being towards it. But one of the things he told me recently is just I need to just grow. I need to read something. I need to read a book. I haven't been doing anything but focusing on keeping my son healthy because he prioritized his son. But now he's going I want to grow. I want to read books. I want to grow myself. I want to educate myself. If you've got a business, how many business books are you reading a year? If you want to be a better parent, how many parenting books can you read? Growing intellectually. Oh, that's not still up there. But then recreational, how do you rest? Do you know what makes you rest? We talked about that a little bit today too. Do you know what makes you rest? Actually, I'd like to ask a question. Who knows who would want to say this makes me rest? This helps me rest? Golfing, it's a great resting one. Reading, scrapbooking. Who said scrapbooking? Scrapbooking, that's a cool art. What would you say? Away from people.
She's not relaxing tonight.
No, not at all. This is the worst. That's my wife's, by the way, so I feel you. Try to help her with that. But do you know what, funny thing is do you really know what it feels like to rest? When I go into a state of rest, it's really weird. I'll sleep for a full day. It's because sometimes when I go on a trip, I don't know about you guys, but when I go into a resting state, it's just amazing what happens just even in my physical body. But some people don't even know what it's like to really truly feel rest. They go on anxiety every day. They go on anxiousness for the next thing. They go on they never take a Sabbath. And by the way, I would say for any of y'all, step one in anything is take a Sabbath. If God had to take a rest, I don't know why I can't. He's the creator of the universe. So if you can take a day to truth. So one of the things is when I started audio, I at the same time, because I was going on a lot of cylinders, even before I started it, but when I started the business, I made the commitment to completely disconnect on Saturdays. I'd always disconnected, but I'd always just like maybe mess around with something here or there or still read a business book. But I made the decision that I'm going to cut everything off on Saturdays, and Saturdays is going to be my Sabbath. And I just had a rejuvenation. I don't know if that's a word, but I was renewed more than ever to actually build the business when I took a break. And I'd encourage you to do the same. Next page, core values. This is something I always go through. I go through this all the time. How many of you have written core values? Great. So this is a fresh room for that. What matters most? You know, my father-in-law, his quote is right up there. Core values are a deciding of what matters most so you can live a life that most matters. You know, when I think just even at the core of like building a dream life, or I think starting with your core values is really the most important thing. What are the most important things to you? If you don't know what's most important, you won't live a life of what's most important. I hope that makes sense. You'll live a life chasing after things that you'll get to the end of your life and go, why was I chasing these things that weren't actually that important? And so if you can do, I have 7 spaces here. I would encourage you. I can't encourage this enough. Have core values for yourself. Know your core values. Talk about your core values. When you're in conversations with friends, if you bring up your core values, I was talking with Trey today and I said, you know what? Relationships is my number 1 core value. It starts my relationship with God, my wife, my kids, and from there it goes down into everything else. But then I'll tell you mine. Relationships, personal growth and development, servant leadership, creativity, and generosity. And those are 5 things that are just incredibly important to me. And you guys probably won't have creativity in your core values, but I do. So when I go start a business, I actually go to my core values first. And I go like, does starting a business align with my values? Like, if it doesn't, why am I starting a business, right? So if you're doing anything in life, does it align with my core values? If you can live that way, you can really, truly live a life that most matters, I believe. And I think about and I talk about my core values constantly. But for those of you who have kids, because I think a lot of you do, how many of you, your kids are still at home and you have kids? Okay, so that's a good chunk. I highly encourage, I didn't send you the slide of this, but I highly encourage that you have family core values. In my house, we have our family core values printed. It's on it's on a picture frame. So it's a picture of our family with our 5 core values on it. And it's sitting at our kitchen tables, and where I eat breakfast with my girls every morning, and then we have dinners at night. And we talk about our core values every night. We're constantly, and I ask my kids, hey, do you remember what our family core values are? We reward in our family based on core values. We discipline in our family based on core values. And our kids will grow up understanding and knowing the values of the family. But it's a game changer for creating a template for your kids to know what your family values. And if you're anything like 99.9% of anybody, you probably didn't grow up in a household that had written core values or like a mantra of who your family was. But it's a powerful tool. And you know what I want to be? I want to be different. I want people to come over to my house and go like, you're a freak. Like, what are you doing? Like, you have your core values written out in front of your kids. You're talking to them about it. Who does that? But my kids are going to grow up and they're going to be in their 20s, they're going to be in their 30s, and then they're going to go like, man, I grew up with this kind of a household, with this kind of a family that thought this way. And I would just highly encourage you to do that. And then business. Obviously, I'd encourage having core values in your business. If you've got employees, core values are the only way that you're going to really set a culture standard for your employees. You should be rewarding according to your core values. And if you have any kind of disciplinary action built into your company, it should be based on your core values, so that everybody understands this is the way that we behave in our culture. Obviously, you're going to have employee handbooks and stuff, but we build ours based around our core values as a company. We're going to do questions at the end? Yeah. Okay. I don't know. All right, next, annual and quarterly goals. Does this pace good? Is everybody good? Okay.
If you want to do questions throughout, you can, or if you want to wait till the end, we can. It's up to you.
Whatever you feel.
If you have a question, raise your hand. I mean, as we go. Okay, go.
Okay, yeah. If you have, for real, interrupt me. I'm very interruptible. What? Okay, so annual and quarterly goals. I love this. I don't know if anybody uses a planner right now, but I put my annual and quarterly goals right next to each other. So I keep my annual goals on the left, and then I love just breaking it down right to the right about what I need to accomplish this quarter. Guys, if you can live life this way, you're setting goals like a Fortune 500. I mean, this is like, taking your quarterly goal, your annual goals and breaking it down into quarterly objectives. I mean, this is running your life like a business. And you should run your business like a business, and this is a great tool for that as well. But it's the same thing we do in business. I mean, when we meet with a team and we set annual budgets and we set annual goals, and then we meet quarterly and review those goals, I mean, you're operating your life the way the most highly productive, even organizations operate. But I like to break it down into quarterly goals, and then think through what can I accomplish, what steps can I make this quarter on that goal. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next page because I want to get down to the kind of meat and potatoes here. Goal breakdowns. So for the next 12 pages, you can break down your goal. And again, I'd highly encourage with any goal that you feel like is a big goal to tackle, like really you can take the time to put it in there. It's funny, I don't put all my goals into a goal breakdown, but the goals that are like, this is going to be a complex one that I need to like figure out how in the world I'm going to do it, I'll put it into the goal breakdown, and it just gives me really great fodder to go like, okay, one of the biggest questions is, if you see in here, list the top reasons why this goal is important to you. Like that's your why. Why do you even want to do this goal? Like, great, you want to, I don't know what a goal might be that might not be important, but why is that goal important to you? And then what core values does that goal align with? And then the next one is, what old or new relationships or alignments do you need to engage to best achieve this goal? I think that's one of the greatest questions that you can ask. Dan Sullivan has this book. We talked about it a lot today, by the way. He's got a book called Who Not How, and it's pretty much saying, your next level, your greatest solution is not a how question, it's a who question. And that's the beauty of partnering up with great people or bringing on great counsel into your life. But I found that every great thing I've ever done in my life was a who. I mean, there was a who that I needed to align with that really helped take me to the next level. And I think that is when you're thinking about a big goal, think of a who in your life that can help you achieve that goal. And then what are next major steps to accomplish it? That's a place where you can break it down. Everybody still with me? All right. Okay. I told there's a lot in here. I baked everything into this thing. Let's turn to page 20, and I'll go to this. This is a goal tracker. So this, use it or don't use it. But this, if you've got a goal that you want to track weekly, which again I would highly suggest, and especially, how many of you guys are in sales, by the way? Okay, so a good chunk of you are in sales. This is a great tool for sales teams. Like if you have a sales team, sitting down with them and actually having something like this, like an accountability, is really great because you can sit down and go like, okay, what are you going to accomplish next week? And then let's see it on your goal tracker. And then what did you accomplish? And then you're fired or I don't know. No, you can talk about the progress. But in our business, we do the same thing. We have weekly scorecards. So, and this is, again, I baked so that all of our team members in our business, we have a weekly scorecard and we meet weekly and we say, okay, so when I take a quarterly goal and I actually break it down into weeks and I say, okay, if we're going to achieve this quarterly goal, in our business, I'm going to use an example. We sign 40 artists. So my company is a music licensing company. So we license music to filmmakers. So we go find musical artists, we go find incredible music, and then we onboard their music, and then we go find filmmakers, and we attract them with beautiful content, and then we convert them into subscribers. And so one of our goals is to go find 40 new artists a quarter. And then I break it down, and did you find 3 artists this week? And we go from there. Break it down into weekly. Pretty self-explanatory, right? Okay. Next page. All right, so this is some magic here. This is the daily flows. I really think that if you can adopt healthy daily flows, you can really change your life because most people need some sort of a template. And who wrote Atomic Habits? James Clear, thank you. He talks about in Atomic Habits, this thing called habit stacking. And habit stacking is like you're bad at taking your vitamins. I'm not saying you're bad. You might be bad at taking your vitamins. So if you want to get better at taking your vitamins, the best thing you can do is to put your vitamins maybe next to your toothbrush, because how many of you are bad at brushing your teeth? Probably none of you.
Don't raise your hand.
Don't raise your hand. But you habit stack when you take a complicated thing that you're having trouble doing and putting it right next to in a mental order, so you stack the habit with something that's easy. Another thing to do is, right before you go to bed is maybe if you're having trouble working out, some people set their gym clothes and their tennis shoes right next to their bed, so when they wake up in the morning, they just inadvertently just run into the demand that they should be working out, and to help them work out. But the daily flows are saying, like, what does the beginning of your day look like? Like, what does your morning look like? So what's your morning flow look like? Mine's really simple. It's coffee. It's reading my Bible. It's prayer. It's journaling. I sometimes put meditation in there. And then I go into a writing part, and then I'm done. That's my morning flow. It's my morning flow every day. Yes, ma'am. What time does that start? Mine, yeah, that's a good question. These days, it's usually 5 or 5:30. So I'm up early. I'm an early riser. What's that? Well, you don't. That's the thing I would counter. My father-in-law, who we know and love, is not a morning person at all. He's very much a night owl, and the whole family's a night owls, my wife included. So, so I have I legitimately have 4 hours of my wife not being up. So it's it's amazing in the morning. Our whole marriage has been I wake up, I just have a whole life, and then Whitney gets up, and when we got, it is true though. But it's one of my ways I love her though too, because but it's one of the ways that, anyway, I've always gotten my girls up and make them breakfast, and that's really important to me though. I really value my time with the girls and my kids. So, but what does your morning flow look like, and really putting that down? Actually, it ends with breakfast time with my girls and usually taking them to school. And then I get into my start workflow. And the start workflow, my start workflow just changes pretty consistently based on business demands. But usually it's communications with team members, it's answering of emails, it may be social media stuff. And just how do you start work? A lot of people start work just jumping in and tackling a problem. I mean, I don't know about you may just walk into work, and if you're a boss, you probably just walk into work and people are just demanding something of you. We need something's on fire, can you run and go solve this problem? Rather than starting your work day with something strategic that you go I need to do this on this day. And anyway, so what is your start work day? How do you end work? A lot of people just end up taking tasks home with them because they don't really wrap up the tasks at work. So if you have an end workflow, you can really bake something into your day that says, okay, when I end work, I'm going to do these things so when I leave work, I can disconnect. And if you're a business owner, that switch is hard to turn off. Or if you work in a high demand environment. But as much as you can, try to turn it off. Again, God didn't take off at 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, though. That is true. He may have worked 24/7 and then just crashed for an entire day. I don't know. Anyway, okay. I'm not going to justify all that. And then what's your evening flow? So my evening flow always ends with, so once I leave work, I go to the gym. It's my gym time. It's my time with my kids. It's my time with my wife. And then disconnect before bed. Also, highly suggest this, as I turn off my phone, I have a personal rule. I never lay down with my phone. I had this rule dating my wife. I never lay down with you while we're dating. And my rule with my phone, because of the world of social media, is I never lay down with my phone. It's one of the keys to purity too, by the way, if any of you want that little nugget as well. And so I never get in bed with my phone. Also, the blue light's really bad for you, and it doesn't help you actually get rest. So that'd be a little nugget. Turn off the phone, and there's a couple of tricks in your phone. It can go into sleep mode a couple hours before bed. And take the time with your family. Okay, next page. Any questions on that? All right. I'm very serious, though. If you can decide your daily flows, it really can change the way you do business in life. If you think about it and look at this with me from pull out just a second and look at this whole thing. It's like you take your business life to a dealership to get it the engine serviced. Like this whole thing is like cleaning out all the engine parts of your life. Like what you're doing is you're creating cleanliness, you're creating structure, you're creating an environment to where your life can now just operate. If you can see this, like, okay, I've got rhythm in my life, I've got flow in my life. And again, it's hard for people to start working out 5 days a week because they have no flow. They just go into work and they start solving problems. They want to be a good boss, they want to be a good team member, so they just say yes to everything, and then they end up coming home and they go like, I didn't have time to work out today. And then you get home and that goes on for 20 years. You know, it's like, or you just go like, no, today I'm gonna decide to structure my life. I'm gonna value me. I'm gonna learn what I value. I'm seeing all the areas of my life where I need to improve, and I'm gonna start saying maybe no to some things and start saying yes to the things that I need to develop in my life so I can be healthy and be a good me.
One of my friends, he calls it giving your best yes, right? So say yes to the things that's your best yes and say no to everything else, because anytime you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
Totally. I hope you're still with me. Are you still with me? Are you bored to death? Do we need to sing a song? Maybe, no, okay.
Isn't everybody enjoying this? Isn't this great?
All right. And it's a fire hydrant. I know it's a fire hydrant. But at the same time, what I know that is if you can use even any part of it, it will help. It'll help I'm telling you, even if you just go decide your core values in your life, that alone, go burn the journal, that's worth $1 million. Setting even a family core values, that's worth the time. Optimal week. So I love an optimal week. What I do is I look at my week and I say, this is what I want my week to look like. How many of you have employees? Okay, so a good amount of you have employees. So a lot of you have employees or you're married. The optimal week is a week for you to go like, okay, this is what I need my week to look like. And I do this with little boxes. And so I have my morning flows and my workday startup flows in there. And then I have my end work flow. So I put all my flows in there. And then I put like, okay, this part or this chunk of this day I want dedicated to maybe some internal admin work at the business, or this is where I have meetings with the team. So maybe so that's for me on Mondays. On Mondays, I'm like, okay, team, if you need meetings, it's gonna be Monday or Friday. So let's do it Monday or Friday in this segment of time. But I communicate to the team these other days are days where I'm focused in and I'm working. And if you can use a tool like that, you can communicate to the people around you what you desire to be your optimal week so that you can focus on the things that only you can focus on. Isn't this a great hack, by the way? It's like, I don't know about you, but the temptation is to spend a lot of your business running hours just solving fires or fighting fires, rather than going like, maybe I could, does that fire have to be answered right now? I mean, some businesses, it might be yes, absolutely. But I've found that most fires in business don't have the demand of the founder of the business to solve that problem right then and there. It can oftentimes wait 24 hours to have you fully focus on that problem to solve it. And so you can structure out your week here and go and you can meet with your team, you can meet with your spouse. This is great for Whitney and I too, because we look at this and go because I tell her, baby, this is where, we have our date night. So Tuesday night at R&D, it's our favorite restaurant in Dallas. We've eaten at R&D for almost 10 years, just every Tuesday night. And we have a date night. And again, that's part of our deciding what we value and then going to our optimal week and going okay, you're going to see, if you saw my optimal week, you would see my values in my optimal week. You would see my time with my kids. You would see my work time. You would see my time serving at the church. I still sit on the executive team of our church back in Texas, and so I still have segments of my week where I'm doing that. And then date night with my wife. And then Saturday night, we're always playing cards with friends. And so that's time with friends. And then every other night is hanging with my children and my wife. And then about every other week, try to do date nights with our girls. If I have too many girls, it's just going to be every night, a date night. I don't mind it. Any questions with that, by the way? Optimal week, yes, sir. Yeah, there you go. That's great. Yeah, that's great. Is it Brian Tracy who's got the book about monkeys on your back? How employees just bring monkeys and throw monkeys on your back, and you should throw the monkey back on them. But I will say this to you guys. This is idealistic. So it's idealistic because you're never going to be dead on with this. And you should know that, and you should be totally okay with it. Like, yes, this is idealistic. There's some of you who are very literalist, and you're here and you're going, this is BS. You can never do that. You can never live exactly according to this. And the truth is you can't, but you can, when you decide it though, you can live very, very, very close to it. There's always going to be sticks. Another thing my father-in-law says is the more strategic you are, the more flexible you can be. And it's very true. When you're strategic about your day, when you're strategic about your time, you can be more flexible because your flexibility isn't bending you into irresponsibility because you have structure in your life. And again, if you don't have structure, then your spontaneity is actually just a sign of irresponsibility. For instance, if you decide, sorry, this is a golfing thing, but like, if you decide, hey, I'm just going to go golfing, and it just ends up being random times at random days and all this different stuff, your spouse might start to get concerned or might have problems. But if you sat down with your spouse and go like, spouse, I'd like to be golfing every other Friday at this time. Can we make that happen? Your spouse would probably go like, okay, I'd like to be going and doing this every Tuesday. Then it's like, then you go, okay, deal. Trading cards. This is what me and my wife do. It's like, I will wake up and always be with the girls. You can sleep in. I don't know what I get in return out of that, though. I just get my wife.
Maybe it's because you didn't get anything out of it, yeah.
She's good, yeah. She's a good negotiator. Okay. Next on here are some calendars. And it's just 3 months of calendar. If you're still, I say old school. I'm old school. I still actually use the calendars. You can use your calendars in there. That's typical. I put a master list in there just in case, because it's a quarterly planner. I usually have a bunch of carryover like tasks that I carry from one quarter into the next quarter. I throw that on my master task list. And then I want to go into this weekly 3. So this is what I operate with weekly. And this week was not colored, but usually I color code things. So like if I've got personal stuff, if I've got different businesses, so I'll highlight different businesses, different colors. But I love this view. Me and my executive assistant, she always said if she had a planner, she said, put all of the days of the week in one page. And I said, okay, I'll do that. Because I feel the same way. I've had planners where it's like you have a day and has, how many of you use a planner, by the way? Okay. Your planner probably looks like this. It's a whole page for a day and maybe notes. You flip it, it's a whole page for a day and some notes. You flip it, it's a whole page for a day. I end up like not being able to go back and find anything. And then I end up in my week, like the way I look at my week is I'll look at my week like this. So I made it like this. I go, what are the key 3 things I need to accomplish this week? At the end of the day, if everybody's hair's on fire and everything's running around going crazy, I know if I sit and I'll look back, and what I do before I set the week is I'll look at my quarterly goals and I say, okay, this is the progress I need to make this week on these goals. So with these goals, this week I need to do this, I need to do this. I decide what are my key 3 to accomplish my quarterly goals so that my week is high level focused on achieving those goals. For your business, if you like, and I would encourage this, by the way, in your business, if you can even boil it down to even like 1 or 2 things that is just like, especially if you're the owner of the business, like what main things can you focus on that only you can focus on? Or even for your business metric is what metrics can you boil your business down to that are the most important metrics? R is ARR. Our business is ARR, annual recurring revenue. So our entire business, everything we're focused on is subscriptions, is building annual recurring revenue. Creative department could go to heaven in a handbasket. So could catalog, all these different departments of our business. But if ARR isn't going up, then we're not accomplishing what we need to accomplish. So again, you could be running around in your business fighting fires, but then pull out and go, the main thing of this business is actually suffering because I'm out here fighting all these fires and not focus on the most important thing. Put the key 3 for the week there. And then I like to look at my whole week and go, okay, in order to accomplish that, then I need to be doing these on these days. And you know what? It never goes according to plan. It it always gets thrown off in some way, but I've got the stuff there that I end up getting to the most important things, and I focus on those key 3 every day, and I end up tackling those key 3 by the time that week comes to a close, I know that I can tackle all those key 3s. This is the best way I've found to structure a very productive week if you're tackling some really big goals. And then also there's some little spots for you can check boxes to say, like, I did my morning flow, my start workflow, my end workflow, and my evening flow. And you can check those boxes there. Cool? And then I'll have 2 pages of notes. I like dot grid, so there is like line note pages. But I love dot grids, man. Dot grids are so much fun. I don't know if any of you use dot grids. Like I was doing this. I was making like a think of my year, because I was like, I need to look at my year, which I may end up just putting this in another planner. But like it gives you structure. I don't know if you can see this, but it just gives you like structure that you can put boxes in. So I needed a way to just kind of think about how I was going to tackle this one goal I have is just kind of ridiculous. So I've got to figure out where in the year I can accomplish certain things. But I like the dot grid. I like to think in shapes and stuff like that and structure. So I can use that. Okay, then weekly review. I'll go over. Yeah. Yeah, or you can take notes in your dot page. I take notes in it too. A lot of people, it's kind of like a new fad almost in the sense of like journaling, but dot grid journaling. I mean, like, you see that? Like, oh, you can't see it. I'll show it to you. Here. Oh my gosh. I still write in it, but then I can make shapes in it. You see that? Yeah. Yeah, so you can still write in a dot grid, but like I needed to make a graph of, yeah, because we've got metrics in our business that I need to keep a really close eye on, so I made a graph and said, I can't let cash get below this if ARR is here, so again, keeping my eye on the key metrics of our business. So dot grid, I love dot grid, by the way, and it's great to use. You've never heard of a dot grid? Yeah, you can use it just as lines. Total flow chart. Yeah, if you think in flow charts, beautiful. I made a flow chart for, so I designed out the whole flow chart in here, made a flow chart of the sales process of the planners, because I had to figure out like when you click here, then it goes to this site, it goes to this site, and this kind of funnel processes. I drew out the funnel process of even the Goal Track Planner, and I just used a dot grid to do it. Great tool. Weekly review, we'll talk about that. So at the end of your week, you say, what are some of the biggest wins from the past week? Celebrate your wins. Always like to start with celebrating your wins. How did you perform this week in your weekly key 3? So like grade yourself. How did I do on my weekly key 3? And then you should always talk about what did you learn? What areas can you improve next week? Did you learn that you just set the wrong goal? Like did you oftentimes, I still do this, and I've set goals for a long time. I set goals that I don't even realize that I'm setting a goal it's determinate on someone else doing something that I have no control over, And also, one thing is a bad thing to set goals for is don't set goals for things that are already going to happen. Like, meet with Bob. Like, well, you already set up the meeting with Bob. Like, it's already on the calendar. It's not like, it's like you gave yourself an easy win. So maybe you just need the pat on the back. But maybe make a goal that is like solving a problem that, isn't going to happen unless you solve it. Those are the exciting goals and the depressing ones, honestly. What are the biggest moves you can make this next week to progress your goals? And then how should you adjust your schedule or delegate this week to focus on your most important goals? Don't forget to update your calendar. That's a big one for me. It's like half the things I'm looking at on my task list, I can delegate to like an executive admin or someone like that. And it's good for me to think. It's good for me to think through that. Like I can delegate these tasks to someone else so that I can focus on my best and highest use right now. And then, what alignments do you need to engage to make the best progress this week? Right now in my business, we're growing really fast in our sync licensing company. So this is the most important one. Every week for me, it's like I need to go get new alignments in the industry to like be progressing our business and scaling it. Also like we go through like VC funding rounds and stuff like that. So for me, it's a lot of alignments that I need to be aligning with. So that's one of the really important ones for me. And then it ends with review your quarterly goals, master task list, and other outstanding tasks. Prep your coming week and fill out the weekly key 3 for the next week. And then it's got a review for the end of the quarter. I'm going to drink a little bit of water real quick. It's got a review for the end of the quarter. Pretty much just ask you the same questions just based on a quarter. And that is the Goal Track Planner from top to toe. So good. Fire hydrant to the face, right? So good. Yeah, and any questions? Just open up the room. Yeah, okay.
Lindsay.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe in the power of 90 days. I'll first of all say this. I believe that when you think quarterly and you think in 90 days, you can accomplish in 90 days what you thought you may be able to accomplish in a year. And because it's like tithing. When you decide to, I've tithed my entire life as a believer, and as a Christian, I believe in tithing, which is giving them the first 10% to the church. When you tithe, a lot of people say, I won't tithe because I need that money, I need that 10%. But when you do tithe, it demands that you think of better ways to manage your money so that you can give your 10%. When you think quarterly about your annual goals, I'll answer your question, but big picture, when I think quarterly about my annual goals, I'm surprised it makes my mind think in such a way creatively that I can accomplish a lot more than I think I can in a shorter amount of time. But in order to accomplish bigger goals, I look at a quarterly goal, I look at an annual goal, and not just one annual goal, you need to look at it next to a couple of annual goals, because then you may have some annual goals that need to be accomplished in certain quarters, But I always break it down into quarterly goals. And then from a quarterly goal, I put it in the planner, I go down into a weekly level and I go, okay, if I'm going to accomplish this goal, a lot of times what I'll use is the calendar view where I'll look at a whole year, or I'll look at least the next 3 months. And I can just, it's like looking at a map, I'm now looking top down at a map of my life, literally in time. And I can go like, well, if it's a weight goal, if I can gain a pound a week, then I can gain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My problem is gaining pounds. So that's, if I can lose a pound a week, then I can lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I could lose 15 pounds in 15 weeks. That's progress, and that's incremental. And I kind of look at it from that view and go, okay, great. Well, then week 1, I needed to lose a pound. Okay, so then I break down that even further. What would I need to do? What would need to be true in order for me to lose a pound in a week? Well, I'd probably need to eat a certain way, work out this certain way. And so I just and then I would go to my weekly flow. I would go to those thoughts in my life and go, okay, this coming week, how am I going to structure my week? Who can I call? Who can I set, like if I want to schedule my schedule, what can I move? What can I adjust? And I can prioritize the time to achieve that goal. I feel like that's my best answer to it. So the creative thinking process is a creative thinking process of just really breaking it down. It's kind of like, they have this whole process with why, like ask why like 12 times. But you can break down a goal in a similar way. It's like, if I need to sell, $2 million in annual recurring revenue, well, let's say I need to sell $12 million in annual recurring revenue, then I need to sell technically $1 million. It never really works like this quarter. And then I just break that down. I hope that answers your question. There's a question over here. Starting on 34, but then progresses. Yeah. So day to day, you're looking at that. But every time I start a week, I go back and review my goals. And again, that's part of the magic here. It's like this is part of people lose track of goals because they're not going back and reviewing their goals. not every day. But honestly, I look at it a lot personally. Because I've got, and I don't even have that many goals. The more goals you have, the more complex. I have 8 goals this quarter. So there's only 8 things I'm focusing on accomplishing. But I still need to look back at those all the time just to remind myself of, am I really making progress on that this week? But if you really think through it at the beginning of the week, you technically shouldn't necessarily have to, unless something's throwing you off on one of those goals. But yeah, for me, that's what I do. And then also what I would say, I've lived by this for a long time, so I know my core values by heart. I know these things kind of by heart, but I would go back and review your core values daily, or find. I like value rituals. Find value. You should do this. I'd encourage it for your company too. If you've got values in your company, is to have value rituals. It's just things that you do that are in schedule with your company or with your personal life that just practices initiating those values. So from me, dinner time is we go have dinner and then we see our core values there. That's the habit stacker for me. And that's our ritual to talk about our values. So I call that a value ritual. Does that help? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. There are where is it? There's a QR code on the first page. And on that QR code, there's short videos, but they're videos that kind of just talk through it a little bit. But we are working on a pretty big workshop right now that kind of helps walk through this more in depth, and probably have some guests be a part of that workshop. And but yeah, we definitely want to create more training avenues on kind of training people to get there, because some people don't know where to start even with core values. It's what do I even want my core values to be? So maybe bringing out some methodologies there. So. Yeah. Setting core values can be an intimidating thing, but that really helps me even know what kind of a course I need to make. As I'm hearing people who might be having a struggle making a core value, how to make a good workshop for that to help you guys set better core values. But with core values, I'll say this just with core values. I've written my obituary, and so I've sat down and I've written. This is such an.
It's impressive.
It's the way Stoics think. It's the way that the samurai way thinks. It's you consider death daily, and so I think considering death is one of the most powerful practices that we can do as people to prioritize on what we really value. So. When I wrote my obituary, I wrote out what I want the end of my life to look like. When I'm on my deathbed. Number one is, who do I want to be there? What do I want to look back and have looked at and be proud of? And then also, what do I want my wife to say, my kids to say, the people around me? What do I want these people to say about me and it makes you realize that I don't want that much. And, I don't need. It really helps you focus things down into what things brought you joy. That personal. I'll say this: the unique greatness questions can really help you guide you to your core values. That's why creativity is one of my core values. I've just always found that if I'm not doing something creative, I'm not really happy. And again, some business owners are doing things that they don't like doing, and so their business is just a frustration to them. Anyway, yes, ma'am. Yep.
Kim.
He does. Okay, great. That's so helpful. Yeah, honestly, not many people talk about core values. Pastor Keith talks about core values in his book, The 1%. Your Divine Fingerprint. Sorry.
Great. Other questions? We'll do a couple more. Beth?
Just on with the core values.
Yeah.
What should you focus on?
Well, you could do work ethic values, like values that you value at work. Actually, I've had conversations with friends about that exact thing, because they do value different things at work than they necessarily just value in their life. But yeah, you know, we live in such like an entrepreneurial world in a lot of ways, but you could do it that way, or you can just leave out the business core values. I mean, I hate to leave something blank in the planner, but yeah, sure. have work values.
One of the things that we talked about today, though, is bloom where you're planted. And I think one of the biggest mistakes is everybody wants to be or thinks they want to be an entrepreneur, and not everybody's designed to be that. So whatever role you're in, whoever you're serving under, whether it's short-term or long-term, come underneath their vision. And I think in a lot of businesses, there's not just one dream that's met. There's a lot of people whose dream is to be the number two or the implementer. I remember recently I had a friend who posted on Facebook, he owned a business for 3 years, and he goes, it was my dream forever, and I found out that I hate it. Yeah. He goes, I don't want to own a business. I can't sleep at night. He goes, I don't want to think about payroll. I just want to spend my days doing what I'm best at. And I found somebody that pays me a great salary. When I go home, I'm at home with my family. Yeah. So I think one of the things is really figuring out if that's where you're going, because I don't think that is everyone's dream. And some people don't realize it until they get there.
Yeah. 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 That's good.
One or two more questions? Any other? Greg?
Oh, yeah. There's not a digital version, but I have designed it. So it's just building an app, you know.
In process.
I work with devs every week of my life, and that enough would show you how daunting it is to build apps. So I've got to design though. So my thought is maybe next year.
Okay, one more question? Cynthia?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Oh, you know what's a good practice for core values too? I love that. That's a great. I love that you just said to give yourself permission. It's like someone's looking over your shoulder oftentimes and like judging your core values when you're just writing them by yourself. It's like, oh, that's a dumb core value. But like, don't let it be dumb. I used to have more core values. Write a longer list of values. On the longer list of values for me was travel. I love travel. I love traveling with my wife most of all and my family. But traveling for some reason just has always like ignited creativity in me. And there's just find what things do you value even when you go throughout your day and your week. What things are you frustrated if you don't get to do it? You know, and then also I know I keep saying things about golf, but the thing about golf might not be just that you value golf. It might be that you value what is it about golf that makes you rest? Like, what is it about that activity? Do you? You can ask deeper questions to go into like why you do and why you like certain things.
Great. All right, let's wrap some things up.
Yeah.
So will you explain really quick for those that are purchasing the planner?
Yeah.
What's the best way to do it?
Yeah.
And then do you have something for people to slide debit cards tonight? Should I have them?
I do. Yeah, we got a little.
Okay, so for the planners, you've got that set up so they can slide and they can either purchase one or they can they enroll in getting them quarterly if they want to? Or how does that work?
Yeah, I think so. Let me check it. It's my flow chart.
So the cost if you buy one is $34.99. If you get on the system like I will, where you get it quarterly, the cost drop to how much per planner?
I think it's 20%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it drops 20%. Great.
Yeah. And then,
Great.
And it's great if you can get in any kind of community or any kind of accountability. I would just say, like, at the end of the day, accountability is key. I meet with Josh, my buddy, and I talk about our goals. So in business, it's easy because you got staff and you can tell them to show up at a certain time and you're all going to talk about it. So that demands a place and time where you talk about goals. But any kind of accountability that you can get in your life that you can say, hey, here's my goals, and I'd love to meet with you maybe once a week or once every other week, and just have you be someone who helps sharpen me on that. That's one of the greatest things to really sticking to it and accomplishing great goals.
Great. Well, last couple of things. One, who enjoyed tonight? Wasn't that just great information? And let's give Clay a hand.
Yeah. Coming, the COO mindset.
So good. So at the end, we'll be down here. There's cases of books. So Some of you, like me, maybe you buy 4 for the whole year. Do what you want to do. Start with 1. Number 2 is one of my goals is to continue bringing in people like Clay. Who wants to have more people like Clay come in here? And one of the ways to do that is Steph and I have committed at CFC, we give X amount per quarter towards being able to bring in high quality people. So if you think about or decide tonight, if you would want to write a check to Christian Family Church and just sow something into Clay so that we can leave him saying, I'm going back to CFC really soon whenever they invite me, that would be great.
Anytime.
So you can write your checks to Christian Family Church. And then he's preaching tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in Owatonna, 11 a.m. in Edina. And then we'll send him home with 1 check and just thank him for his time. 10:45, not at 11. You'll be late. It used to be 11. So if you want to do that tonight, that'd be great. Write a check to Christian Family Church. On the memo line, put Clay Jones and then whatever you want to gift. And then we'll have a basket up here. And then if you're at church tomorrow and you want to sleep on it because you want to do something so big you have to negotiate with your spouse, that sounds great too. Clay's going to be over here. We're going to be selling the planners. Thank you guys for coming out. So excited to be a part of this and excited for where we're going. Let's give Clay